welcome to the SOAR podcast, the school podcast down here at SOAR in Ogden, Utah. I am here with Dustin, Wes, and Frank today. We're just going to talk recovery, letting people know what's on our hearts. And you can find this podcast every Saturday morning around 10:30 to 11:30. And then we will upload these podcasts on Monday. So I'm going to turn it over to the fellas in the studio and let them introduce themselves and start the conversation.
LT, that was beautiful.
Thanks,
Thank
LT.
you.
Good. Well, we've been talking here, for the past 15 minutes before we went live about just the struggle. Like, for me, I just get tired of always having to compete, with my poor minds, with my mindsets when I get negative or depressed, or even like the feelings of letting people down when I'm not always on, and my wife's family just like a week ago, they had a suicide. Young guy, I think he was 34, and we were talking. A lot of people will say this about suicide. They'll say, well, suicide isn't the answer. But
yeah, we don't see it that
yeah,
way, though.
well, the thing that I say is like, when you get, I've been there, and you guys have too, when I've gotten twisted up in my head and been so irritated in my brain. And I mean, I've thought about suicide. You know what I mean? I've thought about, like, I'm so tired of this mindset. Like, and you're really sick. You know what I'm saying?
You just don't see another way out.
Yeah,
Seems
so
like
it's
the best
hard to-
option.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's hard to say suicide isn't the option, because like in your brain, like you can't.
You can't compare
No.
yourself or your struggles to someone else, even if the situation looks similar. So say like, someone goes through a divorce or losing their kid and then they commit suicide. Well, someone else from the outside can be like, well, I've done that. Like I had a divorce or whatever, and then I didn't do that. But like, you can't look from the outside and see how someone is living life in their brains,
Yeah, I've experienced it. Like my best friend, he committed suicide, and I just remember how sick he was. And to them, they feel like there's such a burden on everybody,
Right.
that's the best option.
Yeah. Wow, I'm glad you said that. I didn't think of it. I didn't think of that. The burden they feel, and it's the same thing with us. Like a lot of times, I just felt like I was such a pain in the ass for my wife or my
Right.
family, and because it was always me. Everywhere I go, my mood determines how this family party is going to
Right.
be.
Right.
I walk into the family party
You feel
in
like
a
everybody's
negative
walking
mood,
on eggshells,
and then
around
everyone's
you.
everyone's
Yeah.
walking on eggshells, and I don't want them to feel like that,
Right.
but like I can't change my mood.
Yeah.
So then I go out and I go outside, and please God, help me to just be in a better mood.
Yeah.
And then you go back in, and then everyone, hey, is everything okay? Yeah, everything's okay. This is just where I'm at this moment.
Right.
You just gotta put on that smile and
Yeah.
just fake it till you make
Right.
it.
And that's the pain in the thing. I've been struggling this, probably the last 3 or 4 days with my mood, and I've gone down, and I've been
Yeah.
low, and me being in this position with this program, the
Yeah.
founder of SOAR, and
Well, it's hard. You feel like there's all these expectations to always be the
Right.
guy.
yeah,
And like you always got to have all the answers and always have to be positive in your recovery. But the fact is, it's like,
It's not how it is.
yeah, it's almost like a false hope
You know?
because you can't promise, people getting sober that, hey,
Yeah.
life's going to be beautiful from here on out. It's going to be better than how it was,
No.
but life is still life.
we use the program more than anybody.
Yeah.
Still.
oh
you know?
yeah, that's and that people often say, they're like, oh, are you mad at me? No, stop being selfish.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But like,
Well, it
no,
happens to all of
I'm
us.
not, I'm not
Yeah.
mad. I'm twisted up, just like you get twisted up.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming up on 2 years clean and sober, and I do pretty well in my mind, I'd say.
right.
And then recently I had some family issues come up, and I realized like how much I'm still suffering from childhood traumas,
Yeah.
and that's 2 years into it.
Wow.
Doing amazing in my mind, in life and work, everything. And then just like that, some stuff surfaces up, and I realize like where I'm at still, and I don't think it ever goes away. I think we learn how to, our minds become calloused and we learn how to deal with it
Wow,
better.
that's dope.
You know what I mean?
Because it's like walking a balance where it's like, you don't always want to be stuck in the self-pity and remorse and like stuck in these
Right.
problems, but at the same time you don't want to like always just push them out and like block them off. So there's like, you have to walk this fine line of like, in a certain setting or like therapy, like I have to deal with the shit that
Yeah.
I've been through, but I also can't always just live in it.
That was kind of the realization I had. Like, I think my mind has been trained to just keep stuffing this stuff and just distract myself enough to where it doesn't come up and I don't have to deal with it. But I mean, I need to deal with it.
Especially
It's
because
just
out
going to
here,
keep coming up. You know what I
Right.
mean?
but
Yeah.
since you've been living out here, you're not always around your family.
Yeah.
And so it's like you don't always have to deal with like the stuff in your past with your family and
Yeah.
your parents and siblings or daughter, whatever, all that stuff. But then you've mentioned even when you go back home, like even if you're home for 3 days, like you'll be like, God, I want to drink right now.
A lot
or
of
I wanna
those behaviors
relapse.
start coming up and those old thoughts, and it's just kind of a dangerous place for me to be.
Yeah.
And I've done a good job at keeping myself safe, out here, but ultimately, I mean, I can't just hide out in my safe place forever,
Yeah.
Right.
So I need to get healthy
Yeah.
mentally and
Yeah.
deal with these traumas and these issues that resurface every once in a while.
Yeah. Mentally healthy.
Yeah.
It's like, your our appearance, we might be able to do some amazing things in the gym or
Or
put
have it together at work,
Yeah.
or my nutrition's good. Everybody on the outside, it looks like I got it all figured out,
right.
but in reality, I'm just a struggling student still.
Yeah. I think we all are.
Well, yes, I think we always will be. I mean, we're all, coaches working with people, but but yeah, and I'd let people know too, even clients and people, like, look, man, like I'm not always, I can't be all things to everybody as a coach. Like,
we
don't
have it all
set that
figured out.
please don't put that expectation on me,
Right.
because you're going to see like a personality in me sometimes that maybe you won't like and say, oh shit, Dustin's got to isolate and go for a jog. And I always think nobody uses it as much as I do,
Yeah.
like, and I'll be damned if, I've been really honest in my 10 years of who I am. Like even when I relapsed in 2016 and 2013, and anytime I was struggling, everyone knew,
Right.
all my community knew. I kind of stepped away. I was always honest, and it was a good thing. This is the way I looked at it. I looked at it like, if I'm not honest, I stop being able to use the program that I started for me.
Yeah.
I started WAR like to change my life, and then I thought, I'm going to I can show people this, and that's really how it started. But if I stopped being honest, like then I can't use the program.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but it's also bit me in the ass a few times. People have used that against me and gone out and said things, and
the war has been around for 10 years, but you've only been sober
for
3.
Like, against me. And I don't care, where it's at now with you guys and Frank running it and turning a lot of it over to him. And I don't feel that anymore. You know what I'm saying? And that's really helped me, like in my sobriety. Like I know if Dustin Hawkins is removed from the picture, I don't always it's not just me. Like, if Dustin Hawkins, like the program could still move on, and it's just not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And look what it's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing. We're in this new building.
Yeah.
We got a good group right now. I mean, we're helping a lot of people. I don't know. I just see big things in the future.
Yeah.
Like, we're just helping people.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And all those like pressures and expectations that you put on yourself or you think other people put on you, like you don't have to always carry that around,
Right.
I often think that like I'm in it's such a good place where it's like, I like to think, oh, I don't care what other people think about me. But oftentimes I come back and I realize like, God, I do care, or I do compare myself to other people more than I want to.
Right.
Like even in the gym or something, I'll look at someone else lifting. I'm like, God, like I've been doing this for 2.5 years. Why can't I be there? Or even in my mind, like I think I'm mentally tough. And then some workouts halfway through, I have to coach myself to keep going. Cause I'm like, Frank, you should just give up. Like, this is hard. You're breathing so hard. And then I have to fight through that. And I'm like, why am I not better by now? Why can I not just complete every workout beautifully and be like David Goggins?
Like some days you just don't got it.
Right.
The gym, well, the gym gets harder. The gym gets harder the more you get into it. Like everyone, because you're able to take your intensity higher.
You're tapping into that other.
So like that's what people don't realize is like the better you get at the gym, the more fit you get. It actually your workouts become harder.
For sure.
We did that row one yesterday. It was row intervals for 1,000-meter row, rest 3 minutes times 4, right? And like you don't think that's too hard, so but my goal was to maintain it for at about a 145 to 147 pace each set. So I rest 3 minutes. Well, so rowing, it took about 3.5 minutes to get that 1,000 meters, dude. Like I was thinking, how like we struggle with boredom and like at least I do. Like I struggle bad with like monotony, like the monotony. And I was thinking, dude, 3.5 minutes on a boring row machine at that intensity and how uncomfortable I was, and then resting 3 times and doing that for four sets. Like imagine what that like teaches your brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I know 3.5 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're trying to hold a pace, and you're watching on the clock, it counts every minute. And I was getting mad at the clock. I was like, go faster. Like, why is this taking so long?
I know.
But I got off of it and I was thinking, dude, like what an interesting way to like learn how to deal with monotony and just being uncomfortable,
I did that when on Wednesday I just tried to test my mile time at the track.
Yeah.
And like a mile's not very far to run.
Yeah.
I look at all these people I know, they're like, oh, I just did a half marathon yesterday. I'm like, bro, that's 13 of what I did. And I was struggling. Like after the third lap, I was looking at the clock. I was like, I've only been doing this for like 6 minutes. I got to go a whole other lap. And it's like, in my mind, it's a struggle,
Oh, dude,
miles are just boring on a track to me.
Right.
Yeah. It is, but it all is. I mean, like
it's the monotony thing you're talking about, though. What does that do for my mind? Like pushing myself through that and trying to get my time. Like I got just over 8 minutes. I'm like, God, I want to try to get like under a sub 7-minute mile and doing that. But in that, like, I don't know, environment, it's different. Than like running through interesting scenery. It's like,
you just got to coach yourself.
Oh yeah. Like what we ought to all do. It's like a goal, for our group is to do a marathon, like to run the Ogden Marathon.
Yeah.
Maybe it's this spring, but
what is it like 20 something miles?
Yeah, I mean it's 26 miles. I mean, and
that's something else.
We'd have to kind of switch up our training a little bit but it'd be kind of it would be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Be a good accomplishment.
For us who we train a little different, so I think it would be cool.
It'd be a good goal, I think.
Yeah. The talk in terms of, kind of going back to what we were talking about with suicide and getting dark in our heads. Have you guys noticed, if you captured I know you have, but maybe we can touch on it. The awareness of how coming in and training, I mean, for me, so I struggle on Sundays. Sundays are a day where I usually go pretty, like, have a hard time, get that moody, and I start thinking about Monday. And well, I do, doing these, I go for a jog. I don't really want to, especially how hot it's been, and just what that does is unbelievable. Like I do it a lot to get straightened out, to go to my parents or go to my Autumn's families, to get ready to go in with my family until I'm in a little better headspace. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Like, it's amazing how, I keep thinking about Autumn's family member and suicide and stuff. But if we could teach people how to just use exercise a little, like, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
But if we could teach people the coping skill of look, and it doesn't even have to be this crazy ass intensity,
Yeah.
like we're talking about it, but just
get the
some
blood going.
just some movement
Yeah.
through a jog. And when you get a little uncomfortable, maybe you start walking and working on gratitude with the scenery, like we're talking about. Like, it just seems like if we could just, that's such a simple concept that I think God gave us in this life to use as a coping skill, and another way to, I don't know, man.
It'll change your mindset. Like I say 100% of the time. And I'm not saying it's like the, magic pill to cure everything. It's not like, if you learn how to jog or train like this, that your life's going to be perfect. But I'd say 100% of the time, if I'm having a bad mood or dark in my head and I go do something like that, I always feel better.
Yeah, you're never mad that you went and did it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just, I don't know, there's something about, getting a little sweaty and getting your blood boiling. It just allows like gratitude and happiness to enter more smoothly.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I experienced it firsthand this morning. I was pretty dark this morning.
Right.
Like I said, I've been dealing with some trauma that resurfaced. And, first thing in the morning, I don't want to go run a mile.
Yeah.
But I've done it enough and I've captured that reward that I know it's not going to be a bad experience for me. It's actually what I need to do.
Right.
And I feel a lot better
Yeah, and like, these kids that are struggling, these younger kids, I work at the high school, and we have moved in the direction of working with kids. These kids got a lot to deal with. It's different.
Definitely.
Even when we were kids. I mean, I know you guys are a lot younger than me, but like, dude, there's way more
it's
to
a
get.
stressful world today.
Even just simple things like, look, they, this stuff. I think about this when they send out a text to one of their friends, and the little 3 dots pop up, and maybe they were vulnerable on their text, and the little 3 dots pop up saying that the person's getting ready to respond, but then they never respond.
Yeah.
And they don't respond for 4 hours later. So during that 4 hours, that kid's got to sit there and wonder,
twist it up.
I actually kind of was vulnerable. Maybe I told someone I like them, and now they don't like me now.
Right.
No, I do that right now but the reason I know about it is because this happens to me.
Right.
But think that this happens to these kids. So now they got to deal with stuff like that. I never had to worry about
so much of their
that.
life and like everyday experiences wrapped up in
Social
Instagram
media.
and not even Facebook. Facebook is like old for kids now. For
Yeah.
kids, like Facebook is, that's for old people.
Yeah, right.
Like Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and whatever.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not saying that these things are inherently bad, but like it can be for a lot of these mindsets.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, it's like you said, I'm a lot younger than you, but all I did when I was a kid was ride bikes and play tag and, flashlight tag in the dark and TP people's houses and run and jump in the river,
Be a kid.
I didn't even get I had a pager in middle school, and I got my first cell phone like the summer before 9th grade, Kids have cell phones when they're in like 3rd grade. And like they're not even the flip phones that my first one was.
It's smartphones.
It's a whole screen and whole world in your pocket.
Yeah, it's a whole nother addiction, and it's a whole nother way to get insecure.
And they're learning it at a young age.
Yeah, and so at a young age they develop a thought. They could develop a poor thought about themselves,
right?
And then that poor thought could keep rolling and rolling as they get older, and it's still linked to the insecurities that they've seen over here, and maybe now. I didn't feel that insecure when I was
the kid,
but now I really feel insecure, and I know as a recovering substance, drug addict, I don't know, but I think a lot of it is social media and the way we can communicate. Which the way we can communicate is a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong,
right? But it's
but
how
like
you use
it also tweaks us up, and.
What do you think it teaches these young kids though about like patience or hard work? Like I've talked about this before, but it's like, you want an answer, oh, hey Siri, blah, 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 blah. What's this? And like everything's at your fingertips or right now, or you can do it right now. It's like, I was just thinking even like 20 years ago, if you're going to write a research paper, oh, you have to go to the library and you have to check out books and do it. Like now you can just do it all right here. You can do it on your phone,
Yeah.
Or it's like with people's numbers. Like when we went, so Wes and I went rafting down the Weber River a few weekends ago.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't bring our phones and we didn't prepare to like park a different car where we got out. And we were thinking, God, can we borrow someone's cell phone and call someone to pick us up? And I'm like,
well, no, we can't.
I don't
We
know
don't know
anyone's
any numbers.
numbers because they're all plugged into my phone. And I was thinking, what numbers can I remember? I can remember like 8 of my friend's home phone numbers from when I was like 7 years old. I'm like, oh, I remember my friend Jackson Bates's like home phone number from when I was 10, but I don't know anyone's numbers right now, like because it's just like I can click it on my phone,
Yeah, it's just so easy.
Like, what do you think that does for kids? And like, what do you think SOAR and this foundation can teach them in the different direction where it's like we do stress and adaptation, have them put hard work, patience to get gains and make progress in the gym, which is like everyday life. They're not experiencing that.
Just to help them obtain things that are more meaningful.
Right.
Yeah. I know when we work with our kids here, it's like some of the stuff we throw at them at the end. It's even the same out of, they have so much more to look at, like they have YouTube. And so then when some dude's pitching something at them, they've already, they've heard all that. So it's really hard, but I don't, these kids, like, there has to be a time where they learn to get out and use, be physical in life and scenery and everything that we're talking about. My little girl and her friends, when they hang out, they'll hang out and sit on couches and they're all on their phone.
Right.
Like I just don't see that being great, but it's a blessing in a lot of ways, but a lot of these kids are struggling, man. And I don't know. I think that's like our mission moving forward with kids is to teach them to build their life on a foundation of health, early on, and say, look, here's ways that you can deal with stress and anxiety, and then they make that foundation of health. And hopefully by the time there's adults, they'll remember some of the shit we threw at them and be like,
deal with the stress.
Actually, Dustin and Frank and Wes, that I remember when we did that, like, this is what I should do. I say this all the time when I work with kids. I say, what are you going to do when you wake up one day and you can't be happy? Like you wake up one day and for some reason something's different in your brain and it's shadowy and you don't feel like there's anything going. Like, what are you going to do?
Right.
Because chances are like you're going to have to deal with those type of thoughts and emotions. Like, are you going to remember that I told you to walk out your front door, go for a jog, send out 3 healthy text messages and talk to your higher power and work on gratitude, Or
are you going to seclude in your room?
Yeah.
And watch Netflix. Exactly. Or just be on your phone. Is that going to help? No.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I just don't know, man. It's tricky because a lot of these kids are struggling with suicide like thoughts.
Yeah.
I believe it was two kids that I know just in my school and they were in my class struggling, attempted suicide.
Yeah.
Over the pandemic.
Right.
It's been hard on people.
Yeah, definitely.
People think, it goes back like it's a blessing for us, I think, because we've been there and there's no judgment.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I know what it's like firsthand. I mean, I tried to commit suicide in 2010. I can't remember if I told this story like when I was like the guest on the podcast like a year and a half ago or whatever, but I don't really like tell many people about this because it's like personal and it's heavy, but I was struggling. I'd been struggling for months. I had basically been taking ecstasy like multiple times a week for like 4 or 5 months straight. And it just wreaked havoc on my brain. And all of a sudden I woke up, one day, it wasn't one day, but it was a period of weeks at a time where I couldn't be happy. And I wasn't myself. I wasn't the Frank I knew. I didn't know how to relate to my friends anymore or myself. And I was like, I've changed and something's happened and I'm depressed. I don't see a way out. And after weeks and weeks of dealing with this, one night I was literally just drinking whiskey and I was listening to Neil Young and feeling sorry for myself. And like, I had a freaking loaded gun. I had a 40 caliber Glock that was loaded like on the table. And finally I took another big gulp of whiskey, almost threw up, and then I decided it was time. I put the gun to my head with one bullet in the chamber, and I pulled the trigger. So like I shot myself in the head, and all I heard was like a click. And then immediately, dude, I just remember the most, still to this day, the most intense emotions I've ever felt in my life. Tears started streaming down my face, and I started seeing all my family members and friends and people I care about. Like, my life didn't flash before my eyes, but all the most important people in my life, I saw their faces in front of my eyes. And like I was shaking and crying. I dropped the gun, and then what happened? I picked up the gun. I like unloaded the bullet in the chamber, and it popped out. And I picked it up, and it was like a full 40 caliber cartridge. And then the firing pin had hit the primer. There was a dent in the primer, and like the bullet didn't go off. And it was like the heaviest moment of my life. I went, and I was like at my mom's house.
That's a spiritual experience.
I went and I woke her up.
Power.
Yeah. I was crying. I woke her up in the middle of the night, and I was like, Mom, I need help. And that's like the first time I went to rehab. It was like right after that.
Holy shit.
It's heavy.
And it's gnarly because it's like I attempted suicide, but in my mind, it wasn't like a cry for help where I like took pills and then I called someone or whatever. I like killed myself. I like literally put a gun to my head with one in the chamber, and I pulled the trigger. And like that haunted me for years, and it still does. But like the regret of like, I shouldn't be here right now because I like didn't just try to kill myself. I killed myself, and it didn't work. Like for some reason, like what are the chances of that going off? Like,
yeah.
Jeez.
It's heavy.
yeah. So like anytime I hear about suicide now, or like someone struggling in their head, I have nothing but like empathy, because it's like I've been there and I know what it's like.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like, you know, suicide is not the answer, but I don't like judge that or look down on it, because you never know what someone's dealing with. And I know how it was in my brain when that was happening, and that was the only answer.
Like we said, to some people that is the answer.
That's what they see is the only option.
And I just hope I can like offer help to people, or be able to be a lifeline for people that are struggling, and say like, look, I know what that's like. I've been there, and there is a way out, and it doesn't feel like it right now. And I get that. It's not going to be immediate either. It's not going to be tomorrow you're going to feel better, next week. But like if you put a little bit of pressure and have a little bit of courage to try something different, you know, things are going to turn around sooner or later.
Yeah.
Look at the statistics I just pulled up there.
So that's the statistics saying what's the probability of
A misfire of a bullet.
wow,
Jeez.
99.9997.
So 0.0003% chance of that happening where the bullet didn't go off. And that right there is like, that was before that I was an atheist. That's like one of the reasons, and it didn't happen immediately, but looking back on it after a couple years had passed since that experience in 2010 is one of the reasons I believe in God. Because I'm like, there's like a reason why I'm here, and there's a reason why that happened to me. And like I could be all like dumb and mathematical about it. Well, it's just statistics, and I was just one of the 0.0003% chance.
Yeah.
Or I could be like, hey, there's a reason why like God reached out his hand and said like, it's not your time yet, and there's something else you have to do on this earth. It gives me like chills like talking about it right now, because it's like,
well, yeah. Look what you're doing now. You know, you've helped develop this nonprofit, and you're the director and COO of the non. You know what I that's some shit. I think about you a lot. I think about you a lot because some of the stuff you told me about how you felt like expectations.
yeah.
Of like, because your family's really successful, and you felt like some expectations that you needed to, I don't know, find wealth or whatever, like be this big lawyer in New York or whatever.
I've always felt like that.
Footsteps
but
to follow.
but
Like,
it,
I got
but
it
it's
fully-
happening.
Yeah.
But it's like what I think for you is like happening, but I think it's gonna be on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In the service of other people. Like,
And that's what I care about now. Like, as long as I can just put a roof over my head and be able to support myself and my family and my daughter, like I'm okay. But my primary goal is to like be of service. It's not like what can I do for me? It's like, what can I do to make the world a better place, to add to the stream of life
yeah.
rather than take away from it.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel that much pressure about it anymore, but I have like pretty much my whole life. I remember, I got a full ride scholarship to college and then I lost it and still don't have my bachelor's degree. And it's like, I look at my peers that are all successful and doing big things. And then like, I don't trip out about that as much anymore because I'm doing what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, you're doing what that angel wants you to do, that stop that bullet.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, right.
you know what I mean? That's pretty heavy. That's sick how we just tied all that together.
As I feel like as addicts, we're blessed with the gift to give back. You know?
Yeah.
Like when we walk through the shadows and come out on the other side, we have this. I feel like we owe it to the addicts still struggling.
Yeah.
To help them walk through what we've been through ourselves. That's why this program's awesome. Built by addicts, run by addicts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For addicts. I know people ask me about that. Like, oh, so like, are you a therapist or do you have therapists working there? I'm like,
no, just a recovering addict.
I'm just
everyone here. This entire that day when we were all working in here putting together this gym, like, I just looked around and I literally got teary eyed. I looked around and it was all drug addicts, and the money has been raised by drug addicts. We've organized our groups. It's really pure and special. I had some meetings this week, like therapists and different people obviously have come through, and they asked, well, so there's no therapy? Like, no, we refer out to therapists. I believe in therapy, but we're an organized program ran by recovering drug addicts.
And I think our program's like best suited that way. Like, we don't need to bring in like outside things to like make it better. And I think if you look at our numbers, it's like we're more successful than most IOPs and rehabs. And we don't need to like have this entire clinical side where we're charging insurance to like pay time for, professional PhD therapists. And it's like, I'm not talking down on that because I think that's needed in its time and place. But what SOAR is now, like, I mean, the efficacy of the program speaks for itself, and what we do speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. It's a program for addicts, run by addicts,
built by addicts.
Right.
It's special. And you can come in and create art in this place, your own art. And that gives people purpose. Like, you can come in and you're training. You can work with people, life coach. LT's in here creating his art. Jake's kind of starting this little big book side.
Yeah.
It's just dope. And that gives people we can just keep building this thing because it allows people to do that, Yeah.
Can I back up just a second?
Yeah.
Jump in here. About the blessings of what Frank experienced with that misfire and what we've been through. And I always tell this to everybody. It's out of this book called Staying Sober by Terrence Gorski. But it says, if you're feeling that way and you start feeling that pit, and the stigma that we want to try to break is so that you can come in here and talk to us, start talking to people who are not going to accuse, criticize, or minimize what you're going through. And I think through our experiences in the dark depths that we've been through, we are blessed to be able to give that back to somebody. And I wish we could just, to the people that are afraid to reach out and ask for help, I wish we could just somehow listen, look, come talk to us. We're not going to accuse, minimize, or criticize you.
Yeah. Thank you, bro. Yeah. Like a safe place.
There's no stigma around like being struggling in life around here. You don't have to be afraid to come in and say, I'm dark. Like, I had these thoughts today, or like, I've been thinking about suicide, or I'm addicted to whatever. It could be anything from alcohol to bath salts to Clorox. And like, we're not going to be like, hey, come in, let's talk to you.
There's no judgment.
They're like,
there's nothing you can say because we are crazy too.
We've either been there or been darker.
Exactly. I mean? That's dude, I love that fact, bro. Like, that I can just, like this morning, my little deal, or calling you last night, or I can call you guys with some crazy shit and you're not going to think I'm crazy.
Exactly.
Like,
well, I think that vibe is spread out through here. That's why people come in here and they feel so comfortable in our groups, We get
Yeah.
people to open up a lot, and
Oh yeah.
I think it's because of that. We can all relate somehow, and there's no judgment.
yeah.
So
Yeah, bro. Well, and even like in our gym, like, so we're all training in the gym, and we're breaking off kind of in conversations as coaches and students, and the walls get broken down in there. Like I can do a lot of good coaching and have some great conversations just standing there in the gym in an informal,
Right.
yeah,
during their rest or while they're back squatting. Hey, bro, how
Yeah.
you doing, dude? What's going on in your brain? "Ah, bro, I've been twisted up,
Right.
And then it
Yeah.
rolls there, and you're sitting there. He's back squatting. The endorphins are going, and it's amazing how much work you can do just
Yeah.
hustling around there as a coach.
That's why we have such beautiful groups too.
Yeah,
We train before a group. Everybody's all fired up and feeling those
Yeah.
endorphins, and they're just everybody's open to sharing.
yeah.
And you're not like talking down to people like in the
No.
classroom, like on the whiteboard, like drawing this statistics and being like, this is what you need. It's not like school. Like, we are at school, but it's like we've all been there. We've
Yeah.
all been the student. So it's like we know what it's like,
Right.
Like, I just like you're saying, like I use this program more than
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're all just bunch of student to coaches trying to
Yeah, figure this life thing out.
trying to get it better and having the support. I'm so thankful for it because, like,
Yeah.
Monday nights, I kind of look at Monday nights as my night to really be a student in the classroom, like listen to you,
Right.
and like I'm not trying to, I don't really want to be a coach on Monday night in the classroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need one of those nights where I just, I don't really, in that big book meeting we just go to, I just try to be a
Yeah.
student, like,
Sometimes it's your turn to talk, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's your turn to listen.
yeah,
definitely.
exactly. I don't want to always feel like I need to be heard,
Right.
but, and that's what's cool about it is that, we're like those days when you're having a rough day, like, I'm just going to sit in, I need to be a student tonight, dude.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about some shit I got going on, and then someone else be the coach,
Right.
Yeah.
for that night or whatever. That's helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I always, back over there before we all met. Let's go into that. It's pretty cool how we all met. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thankful for that. That experience of going and partnering over and moving into the world of traditional treatment,
Yeah.
like War went with.
Well, Wes and I were like in sober living together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're living together, and then
Yeah.
met you guys, met some good people. Like,
Got linked up. Yeah. I think it was June 2018.
yeah. Yeah. Frank, you started it over when we were still at
The gym in
the
South
gym in
Ogden.
South Ogden.
Yeah. Then kind of when I was like finishing the program is when they moved
it over.
Yeah, down into Kaysville or whatever.
It was pretty cool when it was actually when we were over at the gym in Ogden,
Yeah.
and it just kind of morphed to a little different direction, but it still was sick.
It's just funny how it's like changed because I never like since I went through, I've never left. I've just like been by your side the whole time, training, and then
yeah.
finally, like after working with you for like a year or something, we're like sitting in a hot tub
Dude,
at the athletic club, and you're like, dude, do you want to like help run this thing? And I was like, God, I don't know, maybe like.
I remember that. I was like, dude, let's why don't we? It was cool because you kept it on track of being a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Thankful for your counsel on that. Because I didn't know what direction to go. Like at that point, I just was like, "Is war over?
Right.
Am I done?" Like I didn't know what I was doing with my life. Like that was a hard time right then for me, actually. And then I took. It was a really hard time. But then I took that job at Layton, which was a blessing. But I remember I kept asking, "How do we do? Is it a for-profit or what? I don't even know what to do."
Yeah.
And you kind of kept it online, like, no, it's. Because it was always a nonprofit.
Right.
It's weird. It went nonprofit, then we morphed into the treatment world, and then we put it back to a better nonprofit.
Exactly. It was an interesting transition.
Yeah. Like, so it's been sick.
Yeah.
Those little groups we had when we first started, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I first was down out there in Kaysville, when we first started, that little group
The
with
4 o'clock groups.
Yeah, the 4 o'clock
Yeah, I
group.
remember.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know,
What was Dustin? What was your first impression of Frank and then Wes when they first walked in to your gym?
Oh, this would be good.
yeah. Well, Frank, I mean, he was a lot different.
Yeah.
Wes, well, I'll start with Frank. I mean, he was like you just were off of heroin when I met you.
LT, I'll send you a picture of myself if you can put it on the screen somehow.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it.
But he was, I don't know, 130 pounds.
Yeah.
So
I remember he was
Maybe.
smoking dark, and he had it all. He had he had all the answers.
Yeah.
But he was, I don't know, what were you? You're probably like 2 weeks off of heroin
Yeah. Exactly.
because you'd gone. I think you kind of did like gone somewhere to get sober.
Well, I went to detox, and then I went on like a trip to southern Utah to Moab for like a few days, and then I came back and started war. So
yeah, you didn't even go into inpatient.
no.
So this was you right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that doesn't even look like you, bro.
So that was literally like in March. That was in March of 2018, and I met Dustin in April of 2018. So that was like a month before I started war.
Yeah.
Do you even know where you're going in that picture?
I don't know, man. Nowhere good.
Dude, that is wild, bro. Like, and then Wes, I right from the get go, I could tell I was going to be able to get Wes on my team.
Yeah. Well, I remember living at sober living with him, and I'd be going to war, and he'd be like going to work, and he was in the other treatment program, and we'd talk to him. He'd be like, "God, what you guys are doing sounds cool, like how do I do
I'm in
that?"
a classroom drawing my relapse cycle for the 5th time.
Yeah, drawing with crayons. Hey, build your house.
Yeah.
The walls represent your
Right.
family. The
Right.
roof is your
Man,
recovery.
that program sounds like a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell him about how your mindset before you went in. Were you were really
I was
struggling
so
with
depressed. Yeah, it was the most depressed I've ever been. So I had just gotten out of inpatient, and I finally decided to do the sober living thing. And so I had about 30 days clean, and they had me on all these like antidepressants and just everything. And I just remember feeling so depressed. Like I was doing the IOP, and I just wasn't happy. I found myself sleeping a lot,
Yeah.
watching Netflix,
Yeah.
and that's basically all I was doing. And I needed something more. I had just quit drugs, and now I'm just trying to figure out this life thing, how
Right.
to live life sober, and it just wasn't fun. And so when you guys started you started letting us come to the gym Tuesdays and
letting ya.
Thursdays. Yeah, or well, you offered that.
right,
that-
right.
And there was a little group of us that would go there every Tuesdays and Thursdays, and
Right.
I remember just I caught that reward so quickly.
Yeah, you did.
It got me out of my head, is what I found.
Yeah,
And I knew that I needed that in my life.
yeah. I remember that. I knew right away. I was like, "This dude's gonna get into this shit."
Yeah.
Even when you had that relapse, I wasn't even worried.
Yeah,
I felt like that relapse.
it is important for me.
Yeah,
I learned a lot.
especially about the lifestyle.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I honestly, and going back to that, I can't even remember how it all happened. It just did, and I just remember I wanted to get back. I had about 6 months before that relapse, and I just remember wanting to get back.
I remember you had
To the
started
program.
training, and you were
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah,
Then you went back home, and you didn't train for a few days, and you were lost, I think. And
yeah.
then
I
you
got away
relapsed.
from everything. Yeah,
But
Right.
then I remember you saying that you learned that it's that's why the gym doesn't keep you sober by itself. It's just one of the things you use, but you have to do the whole lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, and I remember you bought into that too. I remember you going, I think, on a trip with your girl.
Hold on. Shout out to Derek real quick.
Derek, we miss
we
you,
miss
bro.
you and love you, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need to come up and check this place out, bro.
Yeah. That was my roommate, sober living.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
got really close with him. He's a good dude.
But though I remember you went on you started kind of working on some spiritual stuff. You went to see your girl, and and you came back and said that you guys had like prayed and like
Yeah, we went to
together
church a
and
couple
went to church,
times,
and I was like,
yeah, it was a good experience.
you
And
were
I
reading.
yeah, and I realized like all along, I mean, that's what had been missing from my recovery,
Right.
and ultimately, that's kind of what led to my relapse. I just wasn't as spiritual as I needed to be.
Right.
You know, I was leaning too heavily. We talk about it all the time. The gym will not keep you sober.
Right.
And that's kind of all I was doing
Right.
there in the beginning. Was I just relied so heavily on the gym. So when I didn't have it, I mean, I was lost.
Right.
And so yeah, I just didn't have any other tools to help compete.
Yeah.
So I fell right back into old habits.
Yeah, dude. And then that night you first hit 225.
Oh,
remember
man,
that?
it's a beautiful day. Yeah. I love rewatching that
Clean
video.
225,
Yeah.
dude, and he was just so high.
Yeah.
And if you can get somebody to learn how to move and just like that, you know.
Well, it just, for me, it just keeps me focused on goals. It keeps me
Yeah.
goal oriented. So if I set a goal in the gym, I'm less likely to go out and do things that are going to take away from that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm going to focus on getting good sleep at night. I'm going to focus on eating. You know, I'm not going to do things that are going to make that goal take longer.
Right.
And that's what it's helped me do.
Yeah.
That's why I love the gym.
Yeah.
You know, on top of just having an outlet to compete
Yeah.
with negative thoughts.
Right.
And, yeah.
No, it's dope. And then all of our, even that experience this morning, and even the one last week where we just did a walk to the cemetery.
Yeah.
The groups,
Changing it up a little bit.
The group stuff. Sometimes it's like the gym's just a little much. I don't feel like always being intense or whatever. Like, so yeah, man, it's been cool how the little journey's going. It's gonna be interesting to see where it all goes, and from here.
Yeah.
You know, I still trip, you know, like I worry. You worry. You know, you worry we come into this new big building, and I just can't help but have a strong confidence that if we just keep doing what we're doing,
things will work out.
That I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't, because like somehow
we've been making it happen.
Yeah, I've gone. This place has gone blue, like, you know. But yeah, I've never gone without. I've never been rich. You know, my kids have never felt anything. I've always, you know, I've somehow always, like, stuff's gotten tight, you know, with me and Frank have seen you know, we got tight trying to cover some things on the, you know, just the cover the cost of the facility or whatever.
Yeah.
We've gotten tight before. It was like during the pandemic, right when we were getting ready to move into this place. I mean, we were tripping. It like to move into this place was like, to just make the move costed money, you know, and how that's all worked out. I have no reason to believe.
Right.
It's cool.
Otherwise,
that was a tough time, but we made it through it.
But if a higher power can stop a bullet, he ain't gonna stop you from doing the right thing.
Well said, LT.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. You guys want to keep rolling, or?
I just want to thank you guys for sitting down today.
Yeah.
It was a cool conversation.
Yeah.
And LT for facilitating it all.
Yeah, I've got to give the shout out to LT.
Yeah.
He's our producer.
He's the man behind the scenes.
We don't even have to do anything. We just sit down and it's going.
Come in here and talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Glad to be here.
Thankful for him. I mentioned it, but he's been a good addition to our team. He's doing the program right now, and he has an awesome story. LT, we just need to have you on next time.
Yeah, I'd love to be on.
Yeah.
Where we're all just talking again, and maybe you can talk about
put me on that side of the table instead of back here.
Yeah. Where we're talk about your story a little bit, and the balls you took, or the kind of the risk you took.
Yep.
For this world, for this cause, and for, you know, trying to help people. Yeah, don't you think? Let's stop on this. Maybe our listeners can just, if you truly like have like something, and because this disease is so bad, like with everything, you know, suicide, depression, mental health, all the struggles that the world has. Like, so if you have like, and you give a shit, and you go hard for people, and you put together a system like we're doing,
Yeah.
like, how can that really fail? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, because it's
You just have faith and keep doing the right thing and make
Right.
sure your motives are right and it all works out. And
Yeah.
it has worked out.
I don't have any reason to believe otherwise.
Right.
And when I start getting fear about that, someone needs to just slap me because I have no reason to believe otherwise. Like,
Right.
I know God's just saying, dude, just why are you fearing this, dude? Has this ever gone wrong yet?
Right.
Well, it's like financial
Financial's the
fears
worst.
or financial insecurities are always one of the things that haunts like not just addicts, but everyone.
Yeah.
But like the more we put pressure on it and do the right thing and live spiritually, like the lesser that becomes in our lives because we have faith that things will work out if we just keep taking the next right step.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
So
always have to go back to that Bible verse, and I like books and stuff. But look at the birds in the air. Look at they do not reap, they don't sow, but your Father in heaven feeds them.
Right.
What are we worried about?
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, let's end on that.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Who's we'll be back at it again. We're back on every Saturday. We're gonna be back at it. It'll be on all the LT. Do you want to say what it's all on?
Yeah. So currently, we're going to be live on the SOAR website or Facebook page. We're on the YouTube page as well, live every Saturday morning, plus Twitch and Periscope. And then we're going to download it, and you'll be able to find the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasting as we get that little RCC figured out. But you'll be able to find it on the website. So we'll make sure. And if you don't know where it is and you can't find it, just hit us up. We'll shoot it. We'll shoot it to you.
During the week, you can always go to our website and there's like a podcast page and like they'll always be on there too.
Yeah. So thank you guys. Love you guys. And we'll see you next week.